Alright, so Apple has decided to launch the iPhone 16 series. So we get to have the 16, the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the grand question everyone is asking. Should we really upgrade to the iPhone 16 series or not? That's the question we're going to ask and answer at the end of this video. Alright, so before we even talk about any other thing, let's talk about the first most important things iPhone decided to add to the new lineup of 16 devices. The iPhone 16, the iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now, Apple has decided to add a lot of things to this new lineup, and for me personally, I have something to talk about. Is it actually worth the upgrade? Now, the iPhone 16 has one of the major features, which is the additional button iPhone or Apple is adding. It's called the camera control. So this button is just basically beside the iPhone. The major function is for it to take pictures, basically to get you to your native camera app without stress. Now, the downside we should all talk about is the fact that most of our content we are actually creating, either video format or picture format, are for platforms that are vertically based. So we have platforms that just want only straight vertical content. Is this button going to be efficient for those kind of content creation? Aside the fact that you need to bend it and the button is there, but the beautiful thing about the button is just holding the button, you can get access to your camera app. You could also make adjustments to your images with settings while taking pictures or while taking videos. You can basically fine-tune the settings, touch your aperture, your brightness, so on and so forth, which is very interesting. For me personally, that's a good addition, but the question is it worth the upgrade? So the second thing Apple decided to do in their 16 series, which is very interesting, is the fact that they've added something beautiful. Most of us love colors, so they've added additional colors to the new lineup. You now have indigo, you now have pink, you have black, and you also have white. For those of us that have been using iPhones for a while now, we know that this thing is just these guys going around the clock. Basically, imagine the new positioning of the camera. Now they've taken it from just the diagonal shape it was to the complete vertical shape. So you now have two cameras placed on top of each other, like the way we've had the 10 series. Now the question is, why is this happening? It's happening because Apple is saying we want your camera to actually see the way your eyes are seeing. Now you have a surround view, better camera quality, more camera range, and so on and so forth. Is this also worth the upgrade? Are Apple just doing these things because they actually want to bring out a new device every single year? Now, thirdly, Apple has given us a better chip. So they moved from the A16 Bionic chip to the A18 Bionic chip, which is very beautiful, more CPU, more GPU. For those of us that are keen into gaming, we have much more capacity to enjoy experience. You also have the 8 gig RAM, so you have unlimited access to potentials as a gamer, as someone using your devices to do a lot of high-end activities. Apple is also saying that the battery life of the 16 series is 10% better. They didn't actually say 10%, they just said it's going to be a bump in the battery capacity. And from the things we've checked, now the iPhone 15 series had 20 hours of experience time, and now the iPhone 16 series is coming up with 22 hours of experience time, just 2 hours more. Is that also worth the upgrade? Ask yourself. The camera control has a lot of features that I'm sure you would definitely want to know about. First of all, you can open your camera directly and take videos without stress. That is beautiful. You could also use the camera control to make a lot of gestures. You could use it to assign a lot of settings while taking your videos or your pictures in real time, which is also interesting. Now, the beautiful thing about the camera control is it just acts like your trackpad. So it has this magnetic feel that acts like both a button and a pad at the same time. It's very beautiful. It's an experience. Now, moving on to the iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. One of the key differences between the Pro and the regular 16 is the fact that the iPhone 16 Pro has a new screen size, which a lot of us love. For those of us that love big screens, we know how important it is. The iPhone 16 Pro has a screen size of 6.3 inch, and then the 16 Pro Max has a display size of 6.9 inch, which is a lot, but for a device it's worth it for me personally. For those of us that love big screens, comment down below, I love big screens. So one of the ways I feel they've made this possible is the fact they've reduced the bezels. So there are more thinner bezels in the 16 Pro and in the 16 Pro Max, making it possible for the size of the phone to be relatively the same, but there should be increased screen display size, whatever you want to call it. Beautiful. For me, that's a plus. Apple has decided to add new colorways to the new iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max, which you have the desert titanium, you have the black, you have the white, and you have like kind of gray. I would call it gray from it. Also, there's now a new chip in the Pro and the Pro Max, from the A16 Bionic chip now to the A18 Bionic chip, giving you a better CPU and better GPU. For those of us that use our phones to actually game, would enjoy this experience more. Now moving on to the part that a lot of us would love to hear. Now there's a 48 megapixel camera which has been there. Then not just that, there's also an additional 48 megapixel ultra, which is beautiful, making our camera experiences worthwhile. Now we also have the 5x telephoto, which for those of us that love using our phones for pictures, we know how important telephoto lenses are. Because initially we had the 3x, which was the max on the 15 series, but now on the 16 series we have the 5x telephoto. Thumbs up for Apple. You can actually charge your phone now from 0 to 50% in less than 30 minutes. That's beautiful, but is it also worth the upgrade? Maybe, maybe not. So we have an inbuilt 4K 120 frames per second, which is very beautiful. You enjoy more slow-mo and so on and so forth. That's all about the iPhone 16 series. Now moving on to some other things that was announced by Apple, we had the Ultra and the AirPods. Now for the Ultra, which is basically the iPhone watches, for the watch there's a new design. It's back to the old design kind of, but it's actually sleek, slimmer than the previous version. Now the new Apple Watch, we have the Apple Watch Series 10 and we have the Apple Watch Ultra 2. Beautiful. And it's 10% thinner and 10% lighter. Now the new colors that are attached to the watch, we have the silver, rose gold and jet black. Now there's also larger display, but there are also smaller bezels. That is what Apple has decided to give us in 2024 to 2025. The question I have for you is, are you actually utilizing your device? I'm actually filming this video on the iPhone XS Max. How old is it? Is it 7? Yes, it is. Will I do better if I have a newer device? Yes. But the question now is it actually worth the upgrade? So think about it. Think about the fact that most people are not using their devices for the reason they should use their devices. Most people are underestimating the power of those devices. Apple is doing exceptionally well because they're not just selling quality, they're also selling luxury. So thumbs up to the team at Apple for this amazing job so far. The question I have for you is the iPhone 16 series really worth the upgrade? If you love videos like this, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and let me know what you feel about the iPhone 16 series.